Thanks for stopping by. This is 7 mistakes I made as a new coder. Just going to be talking about mistakes I made so you can learn from them and don't make them yourselves. Before we get into the video, I just want to say something really quickly. I am currently building a startup and I am creating a mobile app that I know for sure is going to be a game changer for developers of all skill levels and all disciplines. Starting next week, I am going to start documenting the process of building an app and turning it into a business, and I really want you guys to come along for the ride. If you are interested in that at all, please consider hitting the subscribe button so you're notified when I drop new videos. With that said, let's get to the video. My first mistake as a new coder was being too eager to code and not planning out my sessions properly. When you are first starting out, you are eager to start pounding on those keys and build stuff. It's understandable to feel this way, but as programmers, we need to strive for efficiency and productivity. My productivity as a coder only started to increase when I started designing flowcharts and mapping out pseudocode before getting into the programming itself. When you implement these strategies effectively, you begin to see patterns in your code, whether it's components or functions. Why is that important? Because it's going to save you a lot of time. You will see, oh, this function that I have for this component is very similar to a function I need for a different component. Now you don't need to write as much code. Instead, you can modify existing code to perform multiple actions. This is what separates novice and beginner programmers to intermediate ones. This actually segues nicely into my second mistake I was making as a new coder. Mistake number 2 is not following the DryWheel Principle. One of the first things we learn as new coders is do not repeat yourself and do not reinvent the wheel. In reality, this is really only just one rule: do not repeat anyone, including yourself. I was pretty good at the do not repeat yourself part, meaning that I wasn't rewriting functions and components that already existed within my code base. I was optimizing code in a way that it would be reusable throughout the entire project. What I wasn't good at was finding third-party libraries that satisfied the scope of what I was trying to accomplish within my project. And honestly, this failure was out of pure arrogance. I wanted to solve the problem. I wanted to figure it out for myself. Put ego aside. Find dependable third-party packages and do not reinvent the wheel. Avoiding the urge to build every feature by yourself will save you ridiculous amounts of time. Guaranteed. The most common mistake that new coders make is falling into the trap of tutorial hell. And there's a distinction that I want to make here. There is absolutely nothing wrong with taking a lot of tutorials. There is a problem though with blindly copying code. I know that there are a lot of memes out there that make it look like all coders do is copy other people's code. And the memes are great and they're funny, but that is really a privilege for experienced devs, not people who are just starting out and trying to learn how to code. You should not be taking tutorials and copying the instructor's code without trying to understand what it's actually doing. If you are going to take tutorials in order to learn how to code, you first have to try to accomplish the task on your own. Use your brain to find answers to the problems that you are facing. Get good at using Google, Stack Overflow, and ChatGPT to find answers to your problems. Believe it or not, being able to do that is a skill within itself. Then and only then should you take your code and compare it to the instructor's code to see where they diverge. Yes, it's going to take longer, but you will actually be learning. That is how you learn best practices and standards, and that's how you up your game by using tutorials. If you're just copying code blindly, in reality, you really ain't doing shit. I probably could have combined these 2 mistakes into one, but I think there's enough distinction, so I decided to split them. Mistake number 4 was not embracing the debugger right away. If you're not familiar with the debugger, in short, it allows you to set breakpoints within your code and step through it systematically, pretty much line by line. It brings down the code execution to a speed that a human can understand. Many beginners, including myself, will avoid the debugger and just make fixes to their code until it eventually works. I was 100% guilty of this. And that will eventually help you to solve your problems. But getting familiar with the debugger will make this process much more efficient, save you a lot of time, and prevent a lot of headaches. Along with unit testing and end-to-end testing, this is something that employers will like to see that you have familiarity with. Embrace the debugger. Mistake number 5, maybe you guessed it, is not learning how to test properly. Another mistake I made when I started learning how to code was not investing the time necessary to learn how to test properly. Maybe, like many of you, I solely depended on console.logs to see what was going on within my applications. This is a terrible habit to get into. Even worse, I was not implementing regular testing. I was coding on faith, I was in the zone, and I was not testing each component after I completed it. This goes back to mistake number 1, where you're not planning out your coding sessions properly. I was also oblivious to unit testing and testing frameworks. I just didn't think it was necessary, and honestly, I do think that some coders go overboard with testing. But with that said, if I could go back in time, I would 100% invest the time to learn more about testing and testing frameworks like Jest. If you're in the beginning stages of your journeys, please learn from my mistakes and take the time to understand end-to-end testing, unit testing, and the different frameworks available for different types of programming languages. The next mistake could have literally cost me my life. Flashback to 2020, it's 2:30 in the morning, I hear banging on my door. It's the cops. And they're telling me that my neighbor's apartment is on fire and I need to get out immediately. My daughter at this point is only 3 weeks old and my wife is fast asleep. I wake her up, we start getting my daughter ready, get her into the carrier, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit. My laptop has all the code for the app that I've been working on, which is nearly complete, and I have not been backing it up regularly. And my cat is still in the apartment as well. I had a tough choice to make. I'm just kidding. I decided to save the cat. I find her, she's under the bed. I flip the bed up. I grab her, get her into the carrier, take her to the door. My wife and my daughter are already outside. There's smoke everywhere now. My wife, my daughter, the cat, they're all safe. But my code, my non-backed up code, is still in the apartment. Fire department is coming up the stairs. I tell them I'm running back real quick to get my laptop. They tell me that I'm crazy and I have to get out right now. I freeze for a moment thinking, I have to grab this laptop. But as the smoke is rushing in and I look at my wife and daughter, I decide to make the logical decision and leave it behind, leaving my laptop and my code at the mercy of the fire. All of this could have been avoided if I was utilizing version control and using Git and GitHub. In the end, it turns out the only room that wasn't affected by the water damage or fire was my office, and my laptop was safe. But still, it could have ended really bad. So this mistake is really not about backing up your code to the cloud. It's really about utilizing the features of version control. Version control, Git in collaboration with GitHub or another version control software is super important. Version control is so important not just because it acts as a repository for your code, but it allows you to track all the modifications made within a project during the time you spend coding it. It allows you to create new branches, to try out new features, or to work on bug fixes, all while maintaining the integrity of your main master branch. Most important, it is crucial for collaboration with other developers. And if you're looking to get a job as a programmer, it is going to be 100% necessary to be familiar with version control. That's why it's super important to learn how to use it effectively right in the beginning of your programming journey. Mistake number 7, and I purposely saved this one for last, so I hope you're still watching the video. The biggest mistake new coders make is not knowing which branch of programming they want to explore. There needs to be a purpose behind your actions if you are looking to pursue a career in programming. I made this mistake personally, and it definitely resulted in a lot of wasted time. If you're not seeing the theme within this video so far, here it is. Learning to code is hard. And if you aren't maximizing your time commitment to the learning process, you are going to become discouraged very quickly. Look into web development, mobile apps, game development, data science, robotics, Internet of Things, all that. You have to do some research. Try to get a handle on what appeals to you and then start learning. Having that blueprint up front will allow you to start with a programming language that is aligned with your goals. ChatGPT can be very helpful when you are trying to decide which branch of programming you want to pursue. Head over to ChatGPT, start a new chat, and let it know that you want to start learning how to code. Explain that you are trying to figure out which field within programming you are going to dedicate the most time to. Ask ChatGPT to begin a conversation with you that at the end will result in a suggestion as to which field you should go into. Go back and forth as much as you need to until you and ChatGPT seem to be on the same page. At the end, ask ChatGPT to give you a study guide and mention how much time per week you have to dedicate to learning. This small step, a 10 to 20 minute conversation with ChatGPT, will put you on a productive and efficient path towards your goals when it comes to programming. Before I wrap up the video, I want to go over one more thing. If you are going to go the self-taught route and are going to try to learn programming on your own, you need to make sure that you're balancing practical knowledge and theoretical knowledge. The truth is, you can be a very productive coder with practical skills alone. But that does not mean that you should be ignoring things like data structures and algorithms. You also should not be oblivious to how the internet started and how it works at a low level. Make sure you take the time to learn about these topics and other theoretical concepts, and make sure you start very early on in your journey to learning how to code. I waited longer than I should have to learn about these theoretical concepts, and while it didn't hurt my productivity as a coder, I did miss out on the chance to connect the dots between practical knowledge and theoretical knowledge while I was producing my work. Learn them alongside each other. Please check out the description. I've linked to pages and channels that have really helped me during my time when I was learning programming, and I 100% think that they could help you as well. That's the end of the video. This is a small channel, so it really helps if you like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for your time. Have a good one.